Is the American dream dead for young men? Should you just give up? Or is it worth fighting for still? That's what we're going to talk about today, starting with defining what was/is the American dream. That's typically primarily defined as you own a home, okay? You're a home owner. Not necessarily you have a paid off mortgage, but you own your home. You don't rent. You don't live in your parents' basement or any of that stuff. Typically, it also implies you have a stable job. So previous generations could get 1 or 2 jobs, secure a pension, work there for 20, 30, 40 years, and then retire. That's not the case anymore. I believe the statistics are people job hop every 1 to 3 years, and they change their careers like 7 times over their lifespan. So it would also include having a wife and roughly 2.5 kids. Obviously that's a joke. It's usually between 2 and 3. And essentially retiring by 65 or sooner. So that was the American dream. It also would include a one-income household. So typically the father would have his job, whether it's in a factory or in a corporate 9 to 5, and he is the primary and sole breadwinner for the entire house. They can own 2 cars. They own their property, their house, and they can take a few vacations per year. And so this was very achievable before a lot of this fucked up shit started happening, right? So in 1980, the typical, I believe, median home price was 3 times the median household income. It's now 7 or 8 times or higher, the median income. So home prices used to only cost 3 years of your entire salary before tax, and now it's nearly 10 times the median household income. So cost of housing has skyrocketed. College used to be affordable. I had to double check this when I looked up the statistic, but it was around $400 per year in 1970 for college. Now some colleges cost $40,000 per year, which is a 100-time increase? I don't know if I'm doing that right. But that's a huge jump. So education has skyrocketed through the roof. And then on top of AI and the internet, you can learn all this shit for free, faster, and more updated, but college is now obscenely expensive. Some people come out with a 4-year degree in something that might not be the most useful, with $100,000 or more in student loans, which are non-forgivable. You have to pay them back. So the blueprint for the American dream used to be you go to college, you get your 4-year degree, you get a stable 9 to 5 white or blue collar job. You barely change that job in your entire lifetime. You might even secure a pension. You might have other benefits, right? And then you buy a home, start a family, and retire before about 65. So that's what the American dream used to look like. It has obviously changed a lot, especially since 2020 and COVID and inflation and housing costs skyrocketing and wages stagnant and all this stuff. So the old dream was essentially stability and a linear path, right? So you work this job, you get your 2% raise per year. In 10, 20 years, you have enough to retire and not worry about anything. So really, you're not lazy. The system has just changed. So we're going to address that, and we're going to talk about the cultural collapse and loss of purpose. So The statistic now is 63% of young men, I believe that's under the age of 30, are single. So they can't get in a relationship, or they simply don't think it's worth their time, money, and effort when they don't have really anything going for themselves in life. So this is a massive problem. And the statistic of marriage rates have only gone down since the 20s. People being single, people having fewer or no children, and those are all signs of things not doing so well, especially economically, but also culturally. So 1 in 3 young men have 0 close friends. So they poll people and they say, how many friends do you have on average that you speak to every week, every month, and see so often? 1/3 of them say, none. I don't have any close friends. So that is a huge red flag for society, with people just not being connected in real life, hiding behind their screens, their phones, right? And not having any deep, genuine connections. Screen time, this is part of the problem from the 0 close friends issue, is screen time is an average of 7+ hours a day for a lot of people. This might even be low for, kids or high schoolers or whatnot who are on their phone from the moment they wake up to the time they go to bed, which could be 12+ hours, or people who play video games or are on social media all day long. So if you're behind a screen all day long, that's going to cause issues, right? College now is 60% female, 40% male, and women graduate at a much higher rate than men. So men are not going to college as much, men are not getting their degrees as much. Part of this is due to feminism, and literally there's statistics that show if you're you have a female name on a job application, you spam LinkedIn, you're roughly 2 to 3 times more likely to land that job than if you're a male. So there's a bit of a sexism type of discrimination going on, to where men are like, what's the point, because I'm not even going to get a job for this. Why do I want to go into $100,000+ in debt for this degree when no one's probably even going to hire me? Okay, so that's also a huge issue. There are record low birth rates. So it's roughly 1.6 kids per woman. I believe the replacement rate to keep the population the same, not growing, not declining, would be 2.6. So this is record low. This is basically population collapse. So in 40, 60 years, after 2 or 3 generations of record low and even steadily decreasing birth rates, there just won't be anybody left, right? So that's a scary kind of red flag. That's blinking red, right? And another thing would be there's no real rite of passage or no mission, right? If we were living in the medieval ages, maybe you had your job, you're a peasant, a bricklayer, maybe you were a squire or something, right? You had your job. Now it's kind of like, all right, I exist, I'm floating around in this ether, I'm just going to be on social media, play video games, and jerk my shit off all day long, and what's going on? So that's a huge issue with a lot of people. A lot of young men don't have role models, they don't have any guidance, they feel discriminated against, and it shows in these statistics. Men are not doing so good. So basically, young men, and really a lot of people, male and female, are stuck in this kind of digital addiction cycle. And I've talked about this in some of my previous YouTube videos. And it really boils down to nihilism. So the belief in nothing. Nothing matters. Why even try? I'm not going to get anything out of this. Who gives a fuck, right? So nihilism is a very dark place to be, because that goes along with depression, right? It's like you don't even care that you're in this pit, so why even try? So you just dig deeper into this hole. So that was what the American dream is. This is kind of the symptoms of, horrible, horrible things happening in terms of not looking like we're heading in the right direction. Let's talk about why this is happening, and then let's talk about finally what to do about it. So why it's slipping away. Why is the American dream slipping away from everybody, not just young men, women, older men, older women? Home prices are up 118% since 2020. So at the time of recording this video, in 5 years, home prices have more than doubled, from the Fed printing an insane amount of money, from private investors like BlackRock buying up all single-family homes, from asset inflation, from a million different things going on. So home prices are unaffordable to the average person. Now, home prices, the average age of a home buyer is 56. It's gone up since the 50s. It used to be like 28 used to be the average age of a home buyer, not first time, just a home buyer in general. Now it's gone up to 56 years old. So every home on the market that sells, on average, the person is 56 years old. Young people are not able to afford homes. Okay, wages have only gone up 18% adjusted for inflation since 1979. So wages look like they've gone up a lot, but then when you factor in inflation, they've only gone up 18%. And what you can see is home prices have gone up 118% just in the last 5 years. Wages have barely gone up 20% in the last, 45 years? So, working a traditional, steady, full-time job, you don't even keep up. You can't even keep up with inflation. You can't even keep up with cost of living, housing, transportation, insurance, all this shit. Like, it's insane, right? So, student loan debt, the average student loan debt, if you, maybe you don't even graduate college, but you still have to pay back these fucking loans because they're unforgivable. The average student loan debt is $37,000. Some people are way higher. If they went to fancy out-of-state colleges, some are lower, but the average is nearly $40,000 in this huge rain cloud that you have over your head that you have to pay back. You can't default, you can't declare bankruptcy, you have to pay it back. And that stops you from doing a lot of things, investing, buying things, and getting ahead. So rent, the average rent is $2,050 per month. I believe that's nationwide. Obviously, it's different for every area. If you live in New York City, it's 2, 3, 4 times that, right? If you live in the Midwest, it might be cheaper, but $2,000 a month just for rent for a single person, right? Might be half of your paycheck or more or all of it, which is crazy just to think about. So groceries, gas, insurance, these have all gone up. These have all skyrocketed. So, it sounds horrible and it is not looking good, right? But there are things you can do, okay? You can recognize, all right, this American dream where I just go to college, get a degree, buy a house, you can't really do that anymore. You can you get lucky and you have the right connections and you study the right thing and all these things, but it's changed, okay? So what do you do? What do you do about this problem? Well, you should start with learning a high-income skill, and most likely you should skip college, okay? College, if you want this massive debt, if you, don't even know if you can get a job with your degree, your degree might be irrelevant by the time you graduate because of AI, right? All this stuff, college is not looking like the best option here. Speaking from personal experience. What are these high-income skills, right? There's a lot of research you can do on YouTube, online, but some of them would include learn how to use AI, right? For coding, for content production, for business, for just, it's like Google on steroids, right? So you can learn AI, you can go into the trades where, there's a huge opportunity with trades with the older tradesmen aging out. No younger people want to do it because it's seen as a dirty, undesirable, low status job, but you might make $150K as a plumber, as an electrician, right? So the trades would be another option. Marketing, sales, right? If you can sell things, if you can market to people, if you can get in front of them with online content, with sales calls and all these things, like you can learn these skills, and it doesn't take a college degree to be able to land 100, 150K, 200K a year job, or you're running your own business, right? So learning a skill, maybe skipping college, self-taught, seems to be very attractive now and moving forward. Living below your means. This is something that no one wants to do, right? The more money you earn, the more you want to elevate your lifestyle. It's called lifestyle creep, right? So back when I had a couple of businesses that were really hot, making tens of thousands of dollars a month, I bought a new Mercedes, I bought a new apartment, I'd travel every month, I would blow money like it grew on trees, right? I did not follow this advice of living below my means. So what happens is, you think you're going to be doing really well forever because, wow, I'm making all this money, right? But what happens when something fucks up? When AI, destroys your business? When a competitor comes in, or just something happens? Life happens. Living below your means you essentially save way more than you earn. So right now I save 60% of what I earn net, my net income. I save that. I'm investing it into my business, into liquid assets, right? And I'm not just blowing all my money because YOLO, fuck it, like let's party, right? Like you got to think about the future. Okay, so living below your means takes discipline. And if you just are on autopilot and you're not thinking about it, you're just going to blow everything. But you have to consciously think about this. I have an Excel spreadsheet budget that I have everything, profit and loss essentially, like my net income and all of my monthly expenses and the difference there and how much I'm able to save. And like I can only spend $5 per day on coffee and X amount on this and that, right? So you actually have to do some thinking, calculating, and have discipline to do this. Another thing on the same lines would be avoiding all debt. Don't take out what's the payment plan, Klarna, something like that, where you can buy now and pay later for a fucking Uber Eats sandwich from Jimmy John's or whatever, and you're splitting your $20 payment into 4 payments of $5 a month for 4 months. Like, that's crazy, right? You shouldn't just be stacking on debt, on credit card debt, where there may be 30% APRs and, buying a new car or leasing a new car just because and financing your vacation. This is going to bite you in the ass, like really bad. And over time, you just add up your debt, and then you add up just your minimum payments, and then before you know it, you're shit out of luck, right? You're fucked. So avoiding all debt, smart, right? No interest payments, no debt, save your money, live below your means, all relatively common sense things that people don't really think about because Instagram said I want to travel and do this and all this bullshit. So, and what you should do, you shouldn't just be saving your money, right? You should be saving to invest. So you learn your high income skills, you live below your means, you save as much as you can, you avoid all debt, and then you invest in your education. So maybe you buy ChatGPT Premium so you can learn a lot faster. You buy courses or whatever. I don't know. You buy books, right? And then you invest in your education so you can learn more and earn more. And then you invest in actual liquid assets and build a business, right? And so that way you're not pissing away money, you're actually stacking it up and having it work for you. Okay, and really what you're doing, and the new American dream would be kind of building your own dream. And it's different for everybody, which is why it's kind of scary but kind of awesome, right? Maybe you don't want to be a 9-to-5 wage slave. You want to live in a van, run an online business selling flowers online or something, and just travel around the country or something. That's completely fine, right? But that's different, and that takes creativity, discipline, and a well thought out plan, because a lot of this stuff is just not feasible anymore. Click the video appearing on your screen, and I will see you in that next one.